Thanks for tuning in. Greg in Dallas, Texas. How you doing today, my friend?
Pretty good, man. Trying not to melt on a balmy 104 day.
Yeah, well, thanks. You're going to be sending that my way, baby. I know that's coming.
Oh, man.
Look, it looks like we're live up on everything, but Rumble has been fighting us lately. So
weird.
Yeah, it is so weird, but that's on their end, folks. It's not on our end. I can promise you that. Greg's going to do his thing, and then we're going to go to the executive director of the Second Amendment Foundation, our good friend Adam Kraut. We have a lot to cover with Adam Kraut. I'm probably just going to turn the mic over to him and let him go. It's going to be that much. We've got a half hour with him, and then we've got Sean Caran and Eric Friday to wrap this hour up. Think Florida's safe from the gun banners? Think again. Greg, take it away, and we'll get this party started.
Yeah, sure. Since we're not on Rumble, other places to watch the show, we're going to be Facebook and YouTube. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. You can also head over to X and watch us at AAR Mark. You can always head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. And lastly, if you'd like to join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that very much. Adam Kraut, Executive Director, Second Amendment Foundation. You're looking good on radio, baby. You're looking good. How you doing, Adam?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. It's great to actually see you on the radio, my friend. It adds a whole new dimension to things. Adam, honestly, I wasn't kidding about that. Where do we even start, brother? I haven't talked to you on the air. I've talked to Alan a couple times, but I haven't spoken to you. There is more than we can cover in this half hour, so let's try to move quickly and cover some of the big points. Let's cover the big ones first. Let's talk about the Supreme Court decisions that recently came out over the last 2 months. I believe this is history in the making, no question about it. And, of course, the two SAF cases that SCOTUS is now sitting on and finally has granted cert, both the Viramontes case and the Higgins case, one out of Illinois, the Viramontes case out of Cook County, and the Higgins case out of Connecticut Citizens Defense League. Where are we? Is it as historic as I'm portraying it to be?
No, of course it is. I mean, when the Supreme Court takes a case, it's always, supposedly good for us anyway, and so far it has been. You look at how the Supreme Court's decided gun rights cases since 2008 after the Heller, once Heller was decided. You get McDonald. I always try to describe it like this. In Heller, the world kind of began with Heller in 2008. The Supreme Court, talked about the Second Amendment prior, but 2008, you get Heller says it's an individual right untethered to militia service. It talks about keeping arms, it talks about bearing arms, it talks about arms in common use, and that you just can't flat ban handguns, the quintessential self-defense weapon. 2 years later, you get McDonald versus City of Chicago, a SAF case that takes it and incorporates the Second Amendment against the states. And so that's how all these groups, including us, are now able to sue local governments and state governments for Second Amendment violations. You get Katana in 2016 that talks about stun guns and that they're protected arms. You get Brew in 2022. It really gets into carry. It talks more about the test that's supposed to be applied to Second Amendment challenges, which is exactly what Heller said, but the lower court screwed it up from Heller till Bruin. And then you get, two other decisions this year on Second Amendment issues. You get Wolford, which is dealing with sensitive places, in particular the ban on carry on private property as it relates to the signage that needed to be posted and the kind of notices and things like that. And you get Hamani, which was a really interesting one, where it says that, essentially that some isolated instances of, illicit drug use aren't necessarily enough with just that. If there's no violent element to it, that's not enough to ban somebody from being able to exercise their Second Amendment rights. So the reason I gave that little quick history lesson is just because when you look at how the Supreme Court has been deciding Second Amendment matters, it's been little bite-sized pieces. But they've made sense, right? You get individual right, you get it applied to the states, you get carry being more worked through by the Supreme Court, kind of defining some of the points that are a little unknown. You get Rahimi, which was one that I think they had to take that dealt with a domestic violence restraining order. You get Hamani, which was another one the government appealed, and the court tends to hear cases the government appeals to it. And now they're going to finally address one of the biggest questions that a lot of us have is, are AR-15s and similar types of arms protected by the Second Amendment? So it goes exactly to the types of arms that are protected, and we're very hopeful that we are going to prevail on that.
Would you want to be an anti-gunner today in this environment?
No, and finally they're starting to lose. It's great.
They are. And does their silence speak to you like it does to me?
their position was indefensible to begin with, and as the court continues to whittle away at these unconstitutional laws, they're going to find themselves really with their backs against the wall. Having said that, they are very creative. So just because we're getting a case in front of the Supreme Court and, we're hopeful and feel pretty good that the court's going to come back and say, yes, these are protected arms, you can have these under the Second Amendment, they're going to create a different way to make it difficult to obtain them, or a process that's arduous and expensive to do it. You need to look no further than Colorado.
Right.
If you remember, Colorado was considering a flat ban on, so-called assault weapons, and they changed it. They didn't implement a ban, but they did implement a purchase permit process. And I think that's what you're going to see, much like when Bruin was decided and all these states said, oh, okay, we have to issue carry permits, fine, but we're going to make all these places sensitive places that prior to that ruling, anybody who actually had a carry permit could permissibly carry. So I think that's going to be the next thing you see is it's going to be a purchase permit regime in these blue states. It's going to be training. It's going to be financially expensive, and it's going to be designed to discourage people from actually exercising their rights.
And I'm going to assume that you believe, like I do, that this is going to be the next battleground as far as litigation is concerned after we see what it is they attempt to implement, because they are going to try to infringe just like they did with sensitive places, as you just mentioned, et cetera. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I think once there's a ruling, you'll see very quickly some legislatures spinning up laws, or perhaps even in advance getting them, bills ready to be introduced to deal with that issue.
As an attorney, let me flip over to the Third Circuit. Of course, we just had that huge Third Circuit decision that flipped New Jersey's gun ban on its head. It was a Biden appointee that wrote the decision, as you know. There were Obama judges on there as well. It was a 10-5 decision, ladies and gentlemen, written by a Biden-appointed judge. It was a very, very strongly worded en banc panel ruling. Why did they stay it? What do you think the strategy was for that, and how do you think New Jersey is going to react? That's been a subject of the last week on the show, is will they seek cert at the court knowing that the other two cases are already there? What's the strategy there, and why did the court do what it did?
Well, the court probably stated because the Supreme Court is going to address this issue. As to what New Jersey is going to do, I don't have the slightest idea. My guess is that they would probably seek cert, but ultimately, if that's what they end up doing, and then these two cases get decided favorably, it's likely that the Supreme Court would grant it, vacate it, and remand it to, not grant it, vacate and remand it, but just affirm the lower court decision there.
The Third Circuit's original decision before the stay, correct?
Yes, yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Now, I have so much to ask you, and I have so little time. Let me start with, when I was speaking with Alan on the program a couple of weeks ago, I found it really interesting. You and I know Alan very, very well. Is this going to be a 6-3 decision? Well, look, let's just assume that we're going to win this case. On June 27th, the ruling is going to come down in both the Viramontes and the Higgins case, and we win the case. I won't be shocked if it's a 9-0 decision. Now, I have theories behind that, but if you go back and you look at some of the dissents that were written, or the comments that were made in the concurring opinions by Ketanji Brown, for example, Sotomayor's previous comments admitting, and I believe it was the Hamani case, I might be wrong on that, where she flat out said that guns in common use cannot be banned. Is that going to come back to bite her, or will Ketanji Brown, who has already stated that Bruin is precedent, what do you expect? How do you think they'll fly if, in fact, it's not a 9-0 when they've said these things in previous opinions?
I tend to try to not speculate what the Supreme Court or the justices
Smart
are going to do.
move.
I would have guessed a 6-3 decision, but it remains to be seen. Ultimately, as long as there's a majority opinion, it really doesn't matter whether it's 6-3, 9-0. Other than you'll have folks from every town and other places screaming that it's a partisan decision and that it's not grounded in constitutional law, which is just a poor excuse for trying to continue to support things that are unconstitutional.
Adam, when we come back, we want to talk about, let's hit the Gun Rights Policy Conference when we come back from this break, ladies and gentlemen. The GRPC is coming up in about 6 weeks. Hang tight with us. On the flip side of this break, Executive Director of the Second Amendment Foundation, Adam Kraut, stays with us. We'll be right back. Don't go away. back to the executive director of the Second Amendment Foundation, Adam Kraut. Adam, before we go anywhere else, let's focus and kind of hone in a little bit on the GRPC. Over 100 speakers. Am I reading that right this year? We've got Adam, we've got you muted. Let's bring you back up and get your mic up. Here we go.
Yeah, my apologies. Now, if you were reading over 100 speakers, I don't know where you're getting that from, but that's news to me. So
okay, yeah, because that's what I saw that it popped up. When I Googled it, it popped up with over 100 other guest speakers, and I thought, what? Because I know a little bit about that. I'm plugged in over there.
That's not right.
All right. Hey, guys, Google's not right. Now, I happen to know that. That's why I wanted to ask Adam. There's not enough time in the weekend for 100 speakers. But there will be Brandon.
Wouldn't be able to hear anything.
Wouldn't be able to hear anything. Brandon Herrera is going to be speaking. Robert Cicada is going to be speaking, director of the ATF. ATF Chief Counsel Robert Leiter will be speaking. Jared Yanis, of course, our good friends at Guns and Gadgets. Joseph Greenlee, NRA, ILA, Cam Edwards. Guys, who you hear on this program will all be there. I'll be there doing some interviews. Let's talk a little bit about GRPC in Dallas. Adam, have at it.
Sure. Yeah, so we also have Harmeet Dillon coming, right, and Barry Arrington as well. And our keynote speaker this year is Judge Benitez, and you may remember him from the Miller versus Bonta California assault weapons ban decision and a couple other really good gun cases that came out of California in the Southern District there. So we're very excited to have a great lineup of speakers this year. The event itself is September 25th through the 27th. And this year, on that Friday, we have 3 different things going on. Usually before GRPC, there is AmCon, which is the Alternative Mass Media Conference. That's a place where YouTubers, bloggers, and alternate podcasters can get together, learn from each other, share tips of the trade of how they're building their audiences. But this year, we're also bringing back the Legal Scholars Conference, mainly geared towards attorneys, but it is going to be open to the general public. However, if you are an attorney and you're listening and you're going to be in the Dallas area or you want to come to GRPC, it will count for CLE credits in Texas. And, of course, you can take that agenda and submit it to your state bar and get some CLEs, hopefully, for that as well. So knock out those continuing learning education credits while you can and do it with something that's more fun. And then the state groups are also going to have their own room on Friday where they're going to get together and kind of exchange in a more intimate environment, things that are working well from them, hearing from some people who are on the front lines of the state rights side as well.
Yeah, and guys, we're going to be broadcasting live from Dallas on Sunday after the GRPC closes. So where's it going to be? It's at the Dallas Westin, like it has been in the past, right? Can you tell people about travel and all that fun stuff? Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, fly into Dallas-Fort Worth, pop in an Uber, and you'll be there in 10, 15 minutes at worst.
Yeah, guys, it's at the Westin. You can find all of the information over at saf.org. You can find the information at ccrkba.org. You can Google the Gun Rights Policy Conference for 2026. Just don't believe everything it tells you. If you see that it's at the Dallas Westin, then you know it is. But there will not be 100 speakers. There's just not enough time. But it is an action-packed weekend, no question about it. And every year, ladies and gentlemen, at the Gun Rights Policy Conference, shortened to GRPC, you get a flavor and a taste of what's coming next. And this is going to be an exciting one, Andrew, with Adam, with everything that's happened over the last few months. I have a feeling this is going to be a celebratory gun rights policy conference. Would you agree with me on that one, particularly with the cases coming up?
Sure, I absolutely think so. And of course, we're excited to have a number of officials from the administration who are, in fact, doing a lot for gun rights for once. So that's exciting. And one of the great things about GRPC is that everybody gets an opportunity to interact with the speakers and other attendees. So even if you're not somebody who's well known in the gun rights movement, but it's something of interest to you, there is an opportunity for you to interact with all these people as well and get to chat with them, pick their brains, things like that.
Yeah, guys, come on. Dallas is a hub. You can get there, okay? We've got great rates over at the Dallas Westin for you. So go ahead and register. You can register for the GRPC at saf.org and ccrkba.org. Just look up GRPC 2026, Gun Rights Policy Conference. You'll find it, and you can head over and register. We would love to have you there. Now, let's continue before we hear from Greg that we're going to have to take another hard break. But the SAF has been so busy just over the past several weeks. Guys, if you're on the email list at SAF or even the committee, you're getting a ton of emails with activity. I mean, I'll just go through some of these and I'll let you take your pick. SAF announces settlement in major California carry rights lawsuit. SAF files reply brief and unlawful search lawsuit. SAF files motion for preliminary injunction in California Glock ban lawsuit. Let's go to the Glock ban right now because that's of huge interest to a lot of people. Of course, Maryland is considering. There's other states behind the blue wall. Where are we with that?
Oh, in a very preliminary stage, as the preliminary injunction would suggest. The Glock ban is an issue, and of course we did file a lawsuit in Maryland as well, so that's one we're going to be fighting hard to win and make sure that people in California and Maryland, for that matter, have access to a common arm that a lot of people choose for self-defense and is a choice firearm for many law enforcement departments across the country.
Well, you better believe it. It's twofold. NFA, I'm going to have people yelling at me if I don't ask you about the NFA right now, because one of the press releases that came out from SAF, of course, was short-barreled rifle suppressor NFA registration scheme unconstitutional. Our good friend Jared Yanis at Guns and Gadgets has a couple videos out begging people to call the White House with the White House number, begging them not to appeal this decision. Can you explain the whys about that real fast before we have to go?
Sure. I mean, I would say that them appealing the decision would actually be better because then you could get a circuit court decision on that. It's very unlikely that the Fifth Circuit is going to, reverse the district court in this case. But that is, one of 3 NFA challenges that SAF itself has. We have 2 others that are pending, one out in Kentucky and one in Missouri as well. So we're hoping to get a lot of decisions on this issue where hopefully the district court strikes it down, and then hopefully it does get appealed, and we get circuit court decisions saying, yes, you know what, these are in fact unconstitutional based on Congress's ability to levy taxes.
Yeah, with that tax gone, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you're following these cases. There's a lot of them out there. Adam, how many cases do we have at SAF out there active right now? Usually it's in the 50 to 60 range. Are we in that range right now?
We're still in that range, and we're working on others to get filed to keep the ball rolling forward.
Yeah, so, guys, Second Amendment Foundation. Adam, tell people where they can join us over there. They've heard this for years on the show, but I want it to come from you.
Yeah, head on over to saf.org. You can find all of our information over there. There's a button up at the top where you can donate or you can join the organization. And make sure to check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X, and we have a YouTube channel as well. So it's all of them are Second Amendment Foundation with the exception of X, which is 2ASDN.
You got it. Adam Kraut, Executive Director of the Second Amendment Foundation. Thank you, sir, for everything you do. You're doing God's work. We love you. We'll be back right after the break. Don't go away. Thanks, Adam. AmericanRadio.com. All right, we're going to jump in here on stage. We're going to bring in Sean Carana, who is the Executive Director, another Executive Director with us today, this time Florida Carry. I've been teasing this for the last 6 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to start focusing a lot on Florida, because if you ever think for a second that Florida is safe with all the great stuff going on in Florida, you need to think again. Sean Carana, Florida Carry Executive Director. Welcome in, my brother. It's great to have you here.
Hey, Mark. Thank you, Brad.
That's because
there's a few.
Well, Florida Carry wins. Ladies and gentlemen, for transparency's sake, Sean and I are very good friends. We've known each other a long time. We talk at least a couple times a week, year after year after year. Okay, we're not strangers to each other. And it has always fascinated both of us that there's always a fight, even in a state like Florida, which is why we're going to be focusing a lot on Florida right now, because when we have, let's bring Eric Friday in, attorney counsel over at floridacarry.org. And Eric, welcome to the program, brother. It's great to have you here. It's great to see you guys on the radio. It really, truly is. Eric, this is probably a stupid question to ask an attorney, but good heavens, in the gunshine state, with all the great things happening in Florida, post-Parkland, let's say that, post-Parkland now, with Florida getting back to where it's
been going on for far too long, and we've tried to knock these down as fast as they come up, but it's playing again a game of whack-a-mole. We see these HOAs and these condo associations and all these different types of owners associations come up, and they say, "Oh, well, you can't possess a firearm in our common areas." Good luck getting to your house without going to the common area. Good luck getting to your condo without going through the common area. And so it's an absolute violation of the right to bear arms. You buy a home and you think that, well, my rights
Yeah.
And it would be just like saying, okay, you can practice a certain religion in our community, but you can't practice another. You can have certain rights, but not others because you chose to live here. And there are certain things that should be outside the purview of a homeowners association, no matter what kind of contract they want you to sign. There are some contracts that are invalid because they put onto people, unreasonable restrictions. And a restriction that says that you can't possess a firearm in your home, or you can't get to your house because you have to go through the common area of the community, is absolutely ridiculous.
Well,
and we fell back about this, and our Attorney General has backed us on this. So
yeah, it's patently absurd. It's patently absurd. Eric, at least you have help now from Utmeyer, but let's say, for the sake of argument, that the political landscape was just a wee bit different, a tad bit different, I might say, in the state of Florida. And Utmeyer wasn't there, and DeSantis wasn't the the governor. Now what?
Well, I mean, our last two attorney generals, when we would bring evidence to them, and, we for those of y'all that don't know, one of them became the U.S. Attorney General, the other's currently a U.S. Senator. Our past two attorney generals, when we brought documented evidence to them showing violations of issues that we needed them to address, both of those attorney generals ignored us. We've got a super majority Republican legislature. They can override vetoes. They don't need every Republican to vote our way in order to expand and protect our right to bear arms. But the fact is, there's so many Republicans in Florida that don't see the right as important, don't see it as something worth fighting for, or are more beholden to other interest groups than the citizens of their community, that they continue to block pro-gun bills. We've not had a lot of problem fighting the anti-gun bills, but we've definitely had a big problem with Republicans in leadership blocking pro-gun bills over the last few sessions.
Well, I go way back to De La Portilla. I mean, there's always been a Republican problem in Southeast Florida, and I see Sean smiling on camera. You go back to De La Portilla, he blocked everything we tried to do in that state for years, and he's a Republican. That's always baffled a lot of us, Sean. Are you still fighting similar battles with other legislators like that, as on the heels of what Eric just said? Is there anybody that comes to mind you want to call out by name? Go for it.
Absolutely. We've had a number of people who claim to be Republicans, people who claim to be supporters of the Second Amendment, staunch supporters of the Second Amendment, and then they talk about how, well, I'm a hunter too.
Oh, yeah.
Like hunting's great.
Yeah.
It is not the reason that our forefathers enacted the Second Amendment. They brought it in for the resistance of tyranny and defense of yourself and your family. And there is this old school kind of Republican bloc that doesn't get it. They were taught over generations.
Yeah.
Just take care of the hunters and you'll be fine with the Second Amendment. And it's absolutely wrong. It's something that we're trying to correct.
We need to school. Hey, Sean, I have to stop
leadership.
you. I have to stop you because we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue on that note because you guys are also fighting other cases. We're going to see if I can't pick your brains and see if we can't find out what else is going on in Florida because, ladies and gentlemen, think again. It never ends. And to all of our new affiliates around the country in multiple states, not enough time to mention you. Great to have you with us as the show continues to expand year after year after year. Let's go back to Sean Carana, Executive Director of FloridaCarry.org, and, of course, Eric Friday, Counsel for FloridaCarry.org. Sean, I had to cut you off there when we went to that hard break. I do apologize. But I ended with this, that it never stops. It just never stops. And can you give us some indication? We talk a lot about Arizona, as you know. You and I talk about this off the mic and in private conversation. Here you've got, what people regard as the most gun-friendly state in the country. Now, I could argue that, not in this forum now, All right. Florida, back to being the gunshine state, no doubt about it, but it never stops. Where are you now, and what battles are you fighting? Are there lawsuits you can tell us about, or can you tip your hat on anything?
Well, we have to wrestle for the title for who's the most pro-gun state, and we're trying to take it back here in Florida. I'm laughing a bit because I'm having my blackout coffee, and I have my Buck's gun shop gun that I purchased a few years ago just sitting on the desk here.
Good for you.
We've got a number of cases that are ongoing right now. We just had a hearing in our case against the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. If you have purchased a firearm in the past decade and you have a concealed carry license, or if you're a law enforcement officer in the past decade and you purchased a firearm, you were illegally charged for a background check. Millions of transactions.
Wow.
Over that period of time. $5 a piece times millions of transactions. And actually, Eric, I'm going to let you jump in on. It was a good hearing, and there's another one coming up soon.
Eric, take it away, brother.
Yeah, so we had a hearing on getting the class certified, and the judge made it clear that he wants this case wrapped up. It's been going on since 2019. It sat in front of the appeals court for some time because it was such a contentious issue, and the trial court made clear that he wants this plane brought in for a landing, said it's running out of gas, and then he explained to everybody and reminded everybody in the courtroom that this right was so important. It was one of 10 rights 10 issues that the many states said they would not join this country without it being addressed. And so we're dealing with the Second Amendment, we're dealing with a fundamental right, and we're going to get this issue addressed in this case. And I'm going to protect everybody's due process rights, but this case is getting done one way or the other soon.
Is FDLE is fighting you on this for that long? I mean, we're talking 7 years.
We started this case in 2019, and FDLE they've even admitted that their actions are preempted by the statute, but because the law says that if they change their position once suit is filed, they have to, they're automatically, we're considered the prevailing party. They refuse to come in compliance with the law.
And let's say they would rather win against your right to bear arms than lose because they were breaking the law at the Department of Law Enforcement. It is insane, the position they've taken. We are shocked that they haven't just said, hey, let's settle this case.
Yeah,
let's be done with this.
That is shocking. I was unaware of that. I knew that there was a battle going on. I did not know, Eric, that it had been going on for now 7 years. Where are we with 18 to 20-year-olds? Eric, talk to us a little bit about the Fourth Circuit decision in the state of Florida, and what does Florida plan to do on that, and what are the national implications, if any, regarding that? Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's nuance here. This is not about carry. It's about buying a gun. One's buying a gun, one's carrying. Eric, can you give us the distinction between the national and the Florida case?
Yeah, the Florida Fourth, because in Florida, our districts and circuits are reversed from what they are on the federal system. So our trial courts are circuit, and our appellate courts are district, which is the opposite. But our Fourth District Court of Appeal, thanks to a guy, public defender named Tom Catone, won a great decision in Eubanks that said that there is a right for 18 to 20-year-olds to carry a firearm and to get a concealed carry license if they want to carry it concealed or carry it under there's still some problems about how we wrote the unlicensed carry law, but as to whether it applies to them or not, but they can at least go get a license now, and agriculture has come into compliance with that court ruling on the guidance of, again, Attorney General Lethmeyer. The man is killing it for the Second Amendment in the state of Florida.
No doubt.
But the problem is while the Fourth District of Florida says that, yes, 18 to 20-year-olds have a right to carry, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, who Sean and I have long warned people who want to litigate in Florida in federal court, that the 11th Circuit is almost as anti-gun as the 9th in many cases.
Yeah, the 11th Circuit, let's make this very clear to people, a couple of distinctions. Number one, the 11th Circuit, based out of Atlanta, covers Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, and that's always been a problem, no question about it. The case I was referring to, I said national, and I shouldn't have. It's the Georgia case. that was remanded back by the 11th Circuit. The Georgia 18 to 21-year-old has nothing to do with carry. It has to do with purchase a firearm. But before, I can hear people out there wondering why you just mentioned agriculture. I know what that means, but a lot of people outside Florida don't. Why did you just mention the Department of Agriculture when we're talking about guns? Explain that one.
Well, one of the smart things that the NRA did when they got concealed carry passed in Florida was they made sure that law enforcement was not in charge of concealed carry in Florida, and that it is a statewide elected official that has the ultimate responsibility for and accountability ultimately for administering the concealed carry license program in Florida, because certain lists just don't need to be in the hands of certain people, and certain decisions don't need to be in their hands. There needs to be an elected official running the concealed carry program, not a state police commissioner who's not accountable to the voters of the state.
You better believe it, Sean. We're going to hear that we're taking a break. I want you to wrap that up real quick, and if you would, tell people where they can join us at floridacarry.org.
The best place to go is floridacarry.org. Our website there. You can also find us on social media, but we need your membership. We cannot do what we do without your membership dollars. It's so important to what we do. It's kind of a no bucks, no buck Rogers. We run on a shoestring budget. We're an all-volunteer organization. Every dime spent on your membership to Florida Carry goes toward this work.
And real quick, what is an annual membership of Florida Carry?
The paying membership is $25.
$25
it goes up from there.
For the year, folks, $25 for the year, floridacarry.org. This is the next battleground, ladies and gentlemen, is the states. We have to strengthen states like Florida, Arizona, Georgia. The red states must stand strong, and there's power in numbers. Sean Caran, Executive Director of Florida Carry, thank you very much. And, of course, Florida Carry Council, Eric Friday, thank you guys very much. Guys, we'll be back at 6 after with AWR Hawkins and John Lott. Don't go away. Thanks, guys. And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's MonsterCast Hour 2 begins right now. If you're just joining us, welcome in. If you're rejoining us, welcome back. It's great to be here with you and all of you on our affiliate stations around the country, hundreds of radio stations. And I think we just added, Greg, another 20 more for the weekend and the weekday show as well?
Yeah, it was a good little bunch.
Great. Yeah, Honolulu, welcome in again. Now carrying the Daily Show live, because I had forgotten about the time change out there. It's 5 or 6 hours earlier, so they're running us live on what is afternoon here and morning out there, and it's great, man, to be out there. We have to go out there and do a live show, Greg. That's going to be fun.
That'd be pretty hard.
That would be fun. Carr, I've never been out there, believe it or not.
It'd be hard, though, because how am I going to run the show out there?
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. I don't care where you are.
Oh, you threw the wheel in there.
I don't care.
God forbid I think I'm involved.
No. All right, guys, you're in the Car Firearms Group studios with me. I'm filling your prescription for freedom today and every day. The CZ mic is lit up, and it's all brought to you by the National Rifle Association. I was just notified by Rumble that things were live, and then it keeps cutting out over there, ladies and gentlemen. I can't apologize for that because that's a Rumble issue. Greg, do your thing, and then we'll go right to AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News, who is waiting patiently on the line for us.
Yeah, sure. Places to watch the show tonight are going to be YouTube and Facebook. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. You can head over to X and watch us at AAR Mark. You can always head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com, hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. And if you'd like to join our live chat, all you have to do is download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Yeah, and that will do it. AWR Hawkins, Breitbart News, my friend. How are you today, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing good. It's always fun to have you here. I have to start with you. I talked about this last week briefly, but the more I see it, the more I get angry. In your headline, Senator Tim Sheehy introduces bill allowing national concealed carry for special forces. Yay! That's awesome. What about me?
Yeah, right. Well, that's kind of my reaction too. And I like the senator. I mean, he's a great guy, and he was special forces. But let's get serious about this. Representative Richard Hudson put forward national concealed carry reciprocity
over a decade ago.
But he did it again during the first month after Trump was sworn in. And yet here we are again Trump was sworn in January 25, and here we are. We still don't have it. And so let's quit introducing all these new bills that do a portion of things, and let's go the full length and get it done. It's ridiculous that it's not done yet. And I'm all for Navy SEALs and everybody else being able to carry a gun nationally. But you know what? They ought to be able to do it on the basis of being American, not on the basis of being special forces. We need to handle it in a broad fashion.
Yeah, and I'll go as far as saying this: because they're special forces, this shouldn't even be an issue. Shouldn't even be discussed. Of course, they should be able to. That should be baked into the cake. What's not baked into the cake is me, and you, and the rest of free Americans. Now, that's not baked into the cake, and it should be. So I got kind of a love-hate relationship with this headline. While I get it, and I do get it, I mean, same thing with law enforcement. What about the rest of us? I mean, let's be honest. It's kind of stupid. If you're law enforcement in Florida, you should be able to carry your firearm, and if you're needed wherever you happen to be on vacation as law enforcement, sworn law enforcement, you should be able to have your gun with you no matter where you're at. That was addressed a number of years ago. It should be baked in anyway. But I agree with you. Now, but let me phrase it this way. With 29 states constitutional carry, more than half the problem is gone at this point, right? So the easiest thing to do would be the Second Amendment is my carry permit, period, and forget reciprocity and permits altogether, right?
Right. And that's what we need to do. Well, and that's what Hudson's bill does. Hudson's bill is a constitutional carry bill. And it needs to be handled. It's just ridiculous. And the bottom line is this. Second Amendment is my carry permit, and I already treat it that way anyway. I'm not encouraging anybody else to do anything. You make your own choices, but I will tell you, if I'm in a gun-free zone, it's going to shock the fire out of the attacker when he figures out he's not the only one with a gun.
Yeah, well, that goes without saying, at least around my house anyway. I don't know. I had kind of like I said, I have a love-hate relationship. Let's talk about good people with guns again, because you know what the other side says. Yeah, that never happens. The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun, it never happens. Until it does happen, then you hear nothing from those losers. But you just wrote today a story about a delivery food driver shooting an alleged armed robber. What happened here? Where was this? Where did this happen? Because we love these happy ending stories.
This was Miami Garden, and he had two armed robbers on him, and shot one of them and killed him, and the second one was arrested. But yeah, I mean, same situation. It's like same song, different verse. You know, whether you're in your home or in your car or you're in the restaurant or at the gas station. If you don't have a gun with you, you're a slave to the man who does. It's that simple. And two of these folks had guns, and one of them right now has a toe tag, and he's coming in at just about 73 degrees or whatever they keep that
about right now
at. And and like I always say, the good news is people are always talking about people being hungry. That's an extra set of waffles someone could eat every morning. He's not going to eat them. It's an extra bowl of spaghetti someone could eat at lunch. His mom will still make it. He's not going to eat it. And then whatever restaurant he'd like to attend regularly, McDonald's or whatever, they're going to have a couple extra cheeseburgers and some fries that you can acquire. So this helps people all the way around.
Even more important than that, it's tax dollars that aren't being spent on him and being spent somewhere else where there could be needed. And that's Broward County, by the way, in the great state of Florida, ladies and gentlemen. We were just talking with Florida Carry's Executive Director, Sean Carana, and Florida Carry's lead counsel, Eric Friday. So we love Florida, no doubt about it. FloridaCarry.org. Join them, by the way. Texas Appeals Court. A couple of these, I covered some of your stories over the week. This is another one that I don't get. Texas Appeals Court panel upholds gun ban at State Fair. AWR, you have got to try to tell me what it is about a state fair in Texas that is so sensitive that Texas residents who we all know carry guns just can't carry there. I mean, help me out.
Well, I'm not trying to undercut you the way I'm going to explain this, but it's misleading in this fashion. What's at question here is not the policy, really. What's at question is the law. The law prohibits a political division or subdivision from barring law-abiding Texans from being armed on public property. Well, what the court said very simply, and I'm not saying I'm happy with this decision, but I'm saying It is pretty straightforward. What they said is, well, the state fair is not a political subdivision. It's not a political division. The state fair is a private entity hired by the city of Dallas, and that fair is the one setting the rule. And so they said that is outside the purview of state law. I don't like that ruling. I will not go to the Texas State Fair, and not that I frequent that place. I don't want to pretend I do. But if someone invited me, and I have tons of friends who go, if they invited me, I would say, no, I'm not going anywhere where I'm going to be in a crowd like that and I can't have a gun. So, no, I mean, it's not going to happen. But, as the court said, as a private entity, that's their right to do that. Or not their right, excuse me. That they don't have rights. That's within their power to do that. Let me word it right.
Yeah, well, so here's how I want to articulate this, ladies and gentlemen. I completely understand what you just said. And I read into that. I got that. But the bigger picture here is that in the state of Texas, this private entity, this goes back to the fact that when given the opportunity, they will never stop. And because this is private and they have the opportunity, they are banning you from carrying guns. Now, they upheld that because of this state law. I get that. But what does it say about the private entity? Isn't this just more proof that even in a gun-friendly state like Texas, guys, just like we were talking about in Florida and Arizona, gun-friendly states, the other side will never quit when given the opportunity, AWR. Isn't that the bigger picture here?
Well, that's a fact. They'll never quit. And, these heathens, what I would do if I were in Dallas City Council is we would hold a new vote and make clear that next year the company running our state fair, question 1 on the questionnaire is going to be, will you allow Texans to be armed for self-defense? If the answer is no, then don't apply.
Never happened.
Yeah, Greg just made mention. Greg, how much time do we have, by the way? I want people to hear what you just had to say.
20 to the music.
All right, 20 to music. Take us to the break with that. You know what you're doing. What did you just say in the microphone?
I just said that'll never happen. The Dallas City Council has a lot of problems, and this is one that they're not going to concern themselves with, and they're just going to allow the private entity to continue as they wish. Dallas, even though our mayor switched from blue to red, he's still very blue. And our council and our county commissioners are terrible.
That's disheartening to hear, but not unexpected when you're talking about blue. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, Armed American Radio's MonsterCast on this Sunday continues for you. AWR Hawkins for one more segment. That will be followed by Dr. John Lott, crimeresearch.org. Don't go away. We'll be right back. JEOutfitters.com has got some really cool new stuff going up. Unbeknownst to me over the weekend, there's some really fun AR shirts over there, some hats. No trucker hats, though. I don't wear trucker hats. AWR wears trucker hats, as you can see if you're watching. I just don't like them. They don't look good on me. But it's a similar hat to what I have on right now. And it's AAR. It's really cool stuff. And it's all there for you at JEOutfitters.com. You can find all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com or .org. We got them both covered for you. Let's get back to AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News. A-Dubs, welcome back in. Let's go to the American Bar Association. I have never been able to figure this one out. Well, I mean, trial attorneys, liberals, yeah, I can figure that out, obviously. But why on August 4th did the ABA, when they were in New York State at the NYSBA, the New York State Bar Association, why are they pushing gun control that New York already has and that is already illegal at the federal level? And ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about these Glock switches again. What is the fascination with the already illegal Glock switches, AWR Hawkins from Breitbart News, that everybody on the other side seems so fixated about when they're already illegal? How do we make them illegaler?
No, it's the same thing as ghost guns on repeat, as bump stocks on repeat. These people are a bunch of parrots, and they just parrot each other, and they're too dumb to read. And I know there are lawyers who will go, well, they went there 4 years for law school. Well, I guess they did, but they're not bright, and they don't know how ignorant they sound when they push gun controls that are exist at the federal and state level. So that's how it is. But you know what? Here's the good news. I don't know about you, and everybody's different, but never in my life, not one time, have I woke up and been slipping my holster in to my waistband and wondered aloud, would the ABA approve? I've never asked myself that.
Great point.
And I doubt
I can't disagree with that. I can honestly say I've never done that myself either. And even after you mention it, well, I'll probably find myself doing that tomorrow just because. Let's go to the Third Circuit now. You wrote about this back on the 4th, too. A lot of ground to cover with you. But the Third Circuit, I asked Adam Kraut about this, executive director of the Second Amendment Foundation. The Third Circuit leaving New Jersey assault weapons ban in effect. Do you have a theory on that as to why?
Part of it, I believe, is not so much to leave it alive, although that does it for a time, but I believe it's to save face because I believe they see the writing on the wall. If I had to guess, that's my guess.
So if they see the writing on the wall, I mean, you can go either way with this. If they see the writing on the wall, why leave it in effect and just say, well, you know what? Most of free America has a right to own the most popular rifle in America. Why put the stay there in place when I think if you read that decision, which I know you have and I have, and ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't, please do. It's a 15-judge panel, the full en banc panel, that was authored by a Biden appointee. There were Obama and Biden appointees that ruled in the majority here, which is a pretty clear indication, AWR, that the writing on the wall is being seen even by anti-gun judges who even stepped out of the bounds on this and included magazines as well when they didn't have to, and found those were, in fact, covered by the Second Amendment. And that's why I just wondered. Now, I was just curious if you had any other thoughts. No, we're not going to do that because the Supreme Court's going to affirm what we just did anyway. No, New Jersey's now free. Wouldn't that be nice? And not just Jersey, but the Third Circuit, guys. Not just Jersey, but the Third Circuit.
That would be super if it happened. But I'll tell you what, I mean, I got to be honest, I have trouble staying motivated because who cares? Because the Supreme Court's going to knock all these down, and it's going to be a wonderful day, and AR-15s are going to be loud and proud as they should be. That is America's rifle, by the way, and that's how it's just going to be. And we already know it's constitutionally protected. These people who, as I say, often read to themselves and their lips move, they're trying to trick us and tell us otherwise. But we won't. I mean, it's all the split. We're no longer in the 1990s when the left used the courts to destroy gun rights. We're in the 21st century when gun rights groups use the court to humiliate the left and destroy gun control. It's a new day, and Donald Trump has set the Supreme Court up perfectly, and we're going to knock these down. And that's just how it is. And the little beady-eyed leftists can cry all they want. They can cry till they pee in their pants, and I don't care if they even have fresh underwear. It doesn't matter to me. I have no pity on them.
Yeah, they're getting smacked around. Not a good time to be an anti-gunner, ladies and gentlemen. It really, truly is not. Now, I was a little surprised when I saw your piece. I'm moving quickly through AWR's pieces this week, ladies and gentlemen. But you wrote about a report that the in-and-out shooter supported national concealed carry reciprocity. Take me in that direction. Does that matter?
It doesn't matter, and he's not bright. Because it was a concealed carrier that put it on him, and the concealed carrier didn't hit him, but he forced him to change his plans and run for cover. So the kid probably voiced whatever was on his mind at a particular time. Probably could have spoken to him a half hour later with a voice support for something else. So it doesn't matter, and no one cares. The best part about that whole shooting is that kid's dead.
Right.
That's the best part about the whole deal. The worst part about it is that the concealed carrier didn't get to kill him. That would have been a great reward for him to have put 2 in that boy's skull. And, but it's the bigger lesson of the whole day is be prepared. And that officer who was off duty and that concealed carrier, they were prepared. And that's how you got to live every day because, as I said on X this week, you can't think in minutes for sure.
Right.
And I don't even think you can't think in seconds. You need to think in nanoseconds because that's about all you're going to have to respond when the shooting starts. And you don't have time when you're thinking about a nanosecond time frame. If you're not ready, then you're dead.
Yeah, there is no time. You've got to act.
You can't prepare then. It's too late.
Yeah. You've got to know. You've got to know in advance. And the other footage that came out on that, him walking up to the to the drive-through window and all. It's very disturbing footage, ladies and gentlemen. You may likely have already seen it. If you haven't seen it, you don't need to. But it's out there if you want to. It's tough to look at, but when I look at defenseless people in restaurants, working in restaurants, these young kids that are working behind these counters, and you see how this unfolded, it's just incomprehensible to me, and it is reprehensible to me that these facilities do not allow some form of carry and the ability of employees to fight back in these circumstances. I understand the mindset, but guys, that mindset is deadly. It just is. Let's go to Colorado real quick because background checks are flying off the shelves out there as buyers race to beat the Democrat gun control. We've got about 20 seconds, A-Dubs. Just wrap us up with that.
Well, that's it, because in Colorado, starting August 1st, you had to get the new certificate in order to buy an AR-15. You have to pass the safety class. You have to get your sheriff to sign off on it. You have to pay a fee for all that. So everybody wanted to get their guns prior to that taking
that's it.
effect.
Hey, Dubs, I got to cut you off, brother. We're getting ready to take a break. I hate to do it to you. I love you, man. Thanks for being here. When we come back, Dr. John Lott. Sorry about that, AWR. We'll be right back.
The Second Amendment Foundation has grown into...
I was not paying attention to the time on that. I do apologize. Be that person. Welcome back to the Car Firearms Group Studios. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom in front of the CZ mic. It's all brought to you by the NRA. Dr. John Lott, crimeresearch.org, crimeresearch.org. John, welcome to the program, my friend. How are you today?
Doing great. Good to talk to you.
Always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. So you were getting ready to travel, and that got put on hold because of some flight delays and all that good stuff. Were you going to do more work on behalf of Crime Research where you're going? I don't want to give anything away unless you want to talk about that, but I'll leave that to you.
Well, I mean, I guess that's what I always try to do when I travel, is to educate people about crime issues. And I was heading back to South America, down to Argentina. They're considering some gun control legislation that would make it much easier for people to be able to go and get concealed carry permits. They have a bad crime problem. They've, under melee, they've loosened up to at least some extent the ability for people to get licenses to have guns for protection. But they still have a long ways to go with regard to that. And he has been trying to get some legislation through the legislature down there. But his party did extremely well in the elections that they had last year. But only a third of the Senate is up at any time, just like with ours. And so you have a lot of people from kind of previous elections there that need to be convinced. So, I went down there last year, gave talks to politicians and police, and did some media, and I will be doing something similar over this next week. I leave tomorrow morning, but I'll only be there a few days.
John, do they have the same battles down there with anti-gun groups and organizations that are so well organized and funded like we do here? I'm curious about that.
Well, just worldwide, you've had a lot of people like George Soros has given a lot of money to gun control efforts from countries from Brazil to Israel to you name it. His Open Society organization has given I don't know how many tens of millions of dollars there. The problem is that outside the United States, politicians generally just haven't trusted individuals as much for being able to go and defend themselves. They're much more dependent on the government providing defense. And, I was in Australia in February. It turns out that the rape and sexual assault rate in Australia is 3 times higher than the rape and sexual assault rate in the United States. But women in Australia, outside, in almost all but one state in Australia, it's impossible to go and get something like mace or pepper spray even, let alone a gun. And there are limits to mace and pepper spray, being able to go and protect yourself. And even in the one state, it's very difficult. in South America, kind of the assaults on women is very high. I mean, I'll give you one example. In Argentina, when I was there last year, I discovered that the robbery rate was about 1,069 per 100,000 people. In the United States, the robbery rate's about 60 per 100,000 people. And, that's the rate that robberies are reported in both countries.
Right.
And, when I was talking to the police, one lecture I gave to police officers, I was saying, the true robbery rate is probably, the gap is probably much bigger than that. It's, 1,069 versus 60. I mean, that gap is unbelievably huge to begin with. But only about 9% of reported robberies in Argentina results in arrest. Given that that's the case, you can understand most people probably don't even think it's worth their time to go and report robberies because nothing's going to happen. And so, in the United States, we know most violent crimes aren't reported to police, but in a country like Argentina, it's probably even much greater. And it's true for many other countries, too. You had me on recently where I was talking about the violent crime rate in Canada. It looks like if you look at the government survey that's done there and compare it to the Bureau of Justice Statistics National Crime Victimization Survey in the United States, it looks like the violent crime rate in Canada is about 3 times higher than it is in the United States. So you can reduce crime in many ways, higher arrest rates, higher conviction rates, longer prison sentences, but you can also do it by letting victims be able to go and defend themselves.
John, does what you say when you talk about these issues, particularly with law enforcement and politicians when you're there, obviously you're going back for a reason. And guys, this is a global issue, as we've talked about with John in the past. It's not just the United States, but there's a lot of money that outflows from the United States to these organizations around the world as well. It's not just dedicated here.
Well, it affects the media debate. People point to Australia, for example, as a model. We have everybody from Obama to Hillary Clinton to Joe Biden and many other Democrats who say, we should adopt the types of gun control laws that they have in Australia. You have, politicians in Canada talk about, the scourge of gun violence in the United States and what have you, and they don't even recognize in these countries that, they have such high violent crime rates in their own countries that are much worse than we have here in the United States. And part of that is the fact that Americans are able to go and protect themselves, and the citizens in these other countries aren't allowed to do so, and that makes it so that crime is worse.
Yeah, and I just have to wonder, I'm hopeful that it resonates with the politicians that you talk to and with police officers that are on the streets and people. Do you get a sense that it does?
Yeah, I think it makes a difference. I mean, I hope it does. I mean, somebody must think it does, or they wouldn't be inviting me back.
Right.
I've been to Brazil over the last 6 years. I've been to Brazil 5 times. I've been to Ecuador a couple times. I've been to Peru. I've been to Chile. I've been to Argentina, going back a second time there. I've been to countries from Turkey to England to Belgium to Poland. I've been to Japan. I've been to Australia and New Zealand to go and give talks. So, the thing is, I understand a lot of people want to concentrate on the United States, and I spend a lot of time on trying to deal with numbers and facts, dealing with crime in the United States. But so much of the debate is false claims about how the United States compares to the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. And, you got to deal with that. If you don't deal with it, plus, look, Melee has made it possible for more people to get licenses over the last couple of years
30.
In Argentina, and violent crime has fallen. And those types of examples help make it easier.
20.
Not just the example that we have.
Yeah, hey, John,
John,
let me stop you, John. We're getting ready to take a break. I want to go back to that when we come back, and I have one quick follow-up before we go to what happened in Idaho. We're talking to Dr. John Lott, crimeresearch.org. We'll be right back. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, NRA.org. We're going to continue to hammer the NRA.org with you. We need you to join the NRA. It's $35 for a year. If you can find it in the couch cushions, please, please, please do so and join us at NRA.org. The NRA is a new organization now. You probably know that going forward. It is not the NRA of old. That is past history. Put that out of your mind and join us as we move forward. These are historic times, and the NRA is right at the tip of the spear where they should have been all along, and they are now. We need you to join. $35 for more about all of our great partners throughout the rest of the program. Dr. John Lott, welcome back, my friend. It's always a pleasure to have you here. John, let's switch gears here. Well, no, I got to go back to a quick question. I was writing this down while you were talking, the high crime rates in these other countries. So you go there, you talk to them about that, and obviously you're making headway down there. But do you ever hear from them that they refer to U.S. media? Let me go back to the old Pierce Morgan interviews from a number of years ago. I remember watching you two go at it on Pierce Morgan, and you would try to talk sense into him and talk in these per capita numbers that on a per 100,000 basis from a population standpoint, that doesn't seem to resonate with people because all he sees is what's in the news, and he forgets the math behind it. That this is a country of 330 million people, that we could fit 4 of his countries just in East Texas alone, not to mention how many we could fit in Alaska. But do you hear that from other politicians? Do the other anti-gunners down there just say to you, oh, yeah, coming from somebody where crime is so high in the U.S. that you have to talk them into the truth by using the numbers you just gave us?
Yeah, well, I mean, I run into lots of things like that. TV police shows are shown all over the world.
Yeah.
And for anybody who subscribes to our email list, I mean, we monitor those things. The TV police shows, when they deal with somebody with a concealed carry permit, seems like something always goes wrong. They shoot the wrong person, or they get the gun taken away from them and used against them, or, they interfere with the police being able to do their job. One problem after another. And people in the rest of the world think that the United States is an incredibly violent country. Part of that, and also that it's a disaster having people be able to go and have guns for protection because their media is just as biased as ours, and, they don't cover the successful defensive gun uses. They only hear about the bad things that happen, and it's reinforced from the TV shows that they see. So part of what I have to do is just to get them to question the crime statistics that they hear and say, look, you can't compare the rate that crimes are reported to police. You have to look at total crimes. And one example I would give would be, let's just, for the sake of our in Australia and the United States, the United States, 45% of rapes are reported to police. In Australia, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, it's 19%. Well, even if the true rate was the same, and it's not, but even if it was, it would make, if you just look at reported crimes, it would make it look like the rape rate in the United States was more than 2 times the rape rate in Australia, simply because people are more likely to report the crimes to the police. And so you have to look at total crimes, not just the crimes that are reported. So you can make some progress on those things. I think people understand those issues when you bring them up. The thing is, the media and the rest of the world does a horrible job of communicating these things to people. And so, I write op-eds, thousands of op-eds I've written over the years on these types of issues. And, unfortunately, they don't have people like that in the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's a shame. I'm going to guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to guess that what happened in Idaho, you'll be able to point to that as an example, because I'm sure that's made global news. They get the same news programs we get with the Fox and CNNs and all that. And it has, with credit to the media on this, ABC in particular, the mainstream media did a fairly good job in reporting the good guy with a gun in Idaho. Now, there's reasons for that, ladies and gentlemen. That was because it was out there. They had to. They wouldn't have if they didn't have to, but they did. Having said that, and that's my own personal opinion, I could be wrong, but having said that, will you be able to use that as an example when you're there and say, look at what just happened here as an example? Countless lives were saved because of this good guy with a gun.
Right. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll find out how much people actually know about it. But if they have heard about it, I'll let them know. But generally, I mean, I've talked before about our research on active shooting events. We have a new report that will probably be released this coming week. The FBI claims that from 2014 through 2025, about 3.9% of the active shooting attacks were stopped by law-abiding citizens. Our numbers show that it's 36%. And if you exclude gun-free zones, it's like 53%.
Wow.
But the thing, and we also collect not just active shooting cases, we collect cases involving mass public shootings. And, in just the last few years or so, since 2021, I think we have like 52 cases where police have said, just like the Idaho case, the problem is that what makes the Idaho case unusual is just the media coverage. I mean, the New York Times, and we post this on our website, actually had a positive story about the man who stopped the attack. Almost fall out of your chair when you see it. But there's so many other similar cases that get absolutely no coverage, and in the few times that the media does cover it, they get it wrong.
Well, it is fascinating. There's no question. And you're right. That's why I wanted to toss those accolades out. I got to hand it to the media on this when they did. But again, my personal belief is that this stuff was out there so fast on social media with the cameras that they had no choice. John, Godspeed to you and safe travels. And thank you for what you're doing, not just in the United States, but around the world, because it all comes back home, ladies and gentlemen. John Lott, crimeresearch.org. Thank you, John. Safe travels tomorrow. When we come back, a classic Armed American Radio roundtable, 6 minutes after the hour. We'll be right back. Dallas, why do you call it the MonsterCast? That actually came out years ago just because the show got so big so fast. Do you remember that?
I do.
It just became the MonsterCast.
Yeah, it went from 1 hour to 3.
I mean, the Talkers trade magazines and everything now refer to it as the MonsterCast, and I still get that question. What does that mean?
Trademark.
Well, I probably should do that, but it has, it's just morphed. It's gotten so big, ladies and gentlemen. We've added so many stations. Just over the last 2.5 to 3 months, we've added another 20 to 30 stations, something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
It just continues to grow. The daytime show as well, and I got to hand it, man. That's quite the feat in daytime radio. There's a lot of competition in the 4 to 5 hour, and a lot of great talent out there. So we're very appreciative of that, and thank you to all of our affiliates that take this broadcast. We do appreciate it. It means a lot, and to all of our great sponsors. Of course, we are in the Car Firearms Group studios with you today. This is the CZ Mike. It is the Patriot Mobile Ranch. Greg, by the way, Patriot Mobile. I did find my Patriot Mobile hat.
All right.
Yeah, my kid had it, scarfed it.
Yeah, of course.
I found it in the truck. It was under the seat. That's the lengths they go to keep that hat. People probably ask, why don't you just get another hat? No, that's mine. That hat's got a story to it, right? Why don't they get a hat? Go get your own hat, kid. It is my truck, by the way, too. Don't forget that. Guys, welcome in. Greg, I'll let you tell everybody where to go. Rumble is off the table. We had to cut that out because it slowed down the stream at one point. They just weren't being able to play pool with us, but I'll let you do your thing, and then we'll get cracking with the crew because we got the crew here.
Yeah, sure. Places to watch the show are going to be YouTube and Facebook. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. Over on X, we're at AAR Mark. You can head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com, hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. And to join our live chat, all you have to do is download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Who came in first?
Ryan Petty.
Ryan Petty came in first. Well, Ryan Petty's up on screen with us. Ryan, bring your mic up live. How the heck are you, my friend? And welcome in, my brother.
Doing great, Mark. It's great to be here with you tonight.
Oh, and you got a really cool background going on that meshes well with mine. Ryan's got the round table, Knights of the Round Table in the background there. Welcome in, Ryan Petty. We love you. Brad Primo, CEO, Lead Slingers, founders, former law enforcement officer, and American hero, combat vet. How you doing, brother? It's great to have you here.
Doing great, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. We got a lot to cover with you guys today, but we might take some questions from some folks in the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're in the chat and there's dozens of questions, dozens of people out there and a lot of comments, if you've got a question for the roundtable, as I put in there just a few moments ago, as long as it's FCC friendly, we'll get to it. Okay? So throw your questions in the chat and participate. And while you're at it, make sure you subscribe over at YouTube, and make sure to follow us at X, and make sure to follow us over and join the 80 or 90,000 others that follow us over on Facebook at Armed American Radio as well. Justin Moon, CEO of Firearms. How you doing, my brother? Always fun to have you.
Doing good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Hey, let's start with you real quick, and let's talk about the Rod of Iron Festival. That is going to be here, Justin, like that. It's coming up in October. Let's talk about the Rod of Iron
Coming up
Festival.
in October.
Tell us about
It's going to be a great time.
Always is.
Well, it's indoors again. It's indoors again this time, so we don't have to worry about the weather. But, we expect, a good number of people to come, and we're going to have a lot of great speakers, and it's going to be a good time.
It always is, ladies and gentlemen, and you can visit, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I'm pretty sure I got this down to a T, but it's rodofiron.com, is that right?
That's correct, Rod of Iron.
Rodofiron.com, Rod of Iron Freedom Festival, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to check that out. It's a tremendous amount of fun. The food is fantastic. And the highlight of my trip every year up there is the Tommy Gun Factory. And I got to tell you, Justin, what's really fun, last year when we were up, a group from Asia, Japan, and Korea, they love coming to the United States. And I took a group photo that I'm sure those folks just love, and it's hanging on a wall somewhere, of all of them holding a Tommy gun at the Tommy Gun warehouse, at the Tommy Gun gun shop at Firearms. But they love Americans and their guns. They really, truly do, don't they?
Absolutely. America is still the only place where the citizens are armed, and it really is a very special freedom that we have.
It is. And Ryan, as you know, we talked a little bit about Bill Maher highlighting, and he did such a great job on that what was it, the World Cup. He put together that montage of people from around the world actually proving our media and their media dead wrong, and talking about how safe it is. And there were thousands of social media posts of people and fans from all over the world, countries all over the world, hundreds and hundreds of thousands, that were in places like Bass Pro and Cabela's and some of the big box stores taking photographs at the gun counter, because that's just something they don't ever get to see. And it's a reminder to us that while we have to fight for it every day, we are free, right?
Oh, it's wonderful. And it was such a perfect thing to watch, because it's the experience most of us gun owners have had every time we take somebody to the range for the first time.
Right.
They're blown away how much fun it is. Even before they understand the full implications of the Second Amendment, it's just fun to go do. And they love it. The Europeans loved it. It was amazing. I don't know if we'll have time to go into this today, but I follow this guy on YouTube called The Fat Electrician. He has got the funniest video I have ever seen, where he talks about, he compares and contrasts Europeans fighting against air conditioning, right? And they have 170, I think this came up last week, right? 175,000 heat-related deaths. It dwarfs any gun-related deaths in the United States. They're making a choice not to allow their citizens to be free, not to have air conditioning, not to have firearms. We live in a free country. We get both. This is the place you want to live.
Yeah, and that's proven time and time and time again. And it's just a reminder to us, ladies and gentlemen, that we take a lot of this for granted. Bill Maher pointed that out in that montage. Brad. You probably saw it. Bill Maher has amazed me over the last few years. He really has, Brad. I got to hand it to him, but not really hand it to him. He has stayed middle of the road. It's the party that he's been associated with for so long that has moved so dangerously far left, now into communism territory, Brad. But it is a reminder to us, isn't it, that we are free. You've been around the world, brother. You just got back from Europe last week. So tell us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, they'll get my air conditioning when they pry it from my cold, dead hands. That's for sure.
Right.
But you know what? Like, so, having, family in Spain, and every time I go to visit, when we get to talking and all that, like, one of the things they always want to talk to me about is, my guns. How many do I have? What do I have? Like, how if it's all legal? Like, holy crap, I can't believe you can have that over there.
Right.
And, and what's even more fun is that I've had family from Spain come to visit us, and at the very top of their list of things they wanted to do was shoot guns.
Yeah.
And so, I had the opportunity to take a couple of them, just go out to the family range and load up some magazines, like shotguns, rifles, ARs, suppressed weapons, like all the fun stuff. And like the smile that spread across this dude's face the first time he pulled the trigger on AR-15, it reminded me of the Grinch. Like in the Grinch Who Stole Christmas, that huge smile that just slowly kind of spreads across his whole face. He had a blast. And the thing is, I've taken people to the range for the first time in their lives multiple times. In every single time. I'm talking some of them were completely anti-gun. They were afraid of it, but they said, you know what, I'll give it a shot. And after that, they were automatically converted. They realized that, hey, you know what, these things are not dangerous by themselves. There's a safe way to utilize firearms, and you know what, it's just a lot of fun. I've heard it described as the most fun you can have these shoes on, and I would agree with it. And so, the act of being able to go to the range, it is the ultimate, the pinnacle of what I would consider liberty, because, you are possessing and you have the ability to defend yourself, to defend your rights. It provides a fence, a limit to what the government can do to you and what anybody can do to you, as long as you have the right to defend your life and property.
And the vast majority of the people that we're talking about have been disarmed by the state for so long that I'll just frame it this way, Justin. I'll go to you quickly before we go to the break and then come back to you. But there are more gun ranges within 5 miles of me than there are in Great Britain, period. Okay, I would dare say virtually any other country out there. Greg, how much time? I don't want to have to go. We have 30 seconds, Justin. When we come back, I want to talk about, I'm going to ask you a specific question, because you've seen people at your range from all over the world. And I have just one simple question for you that I already know the answer to, but I want people to hear it from you. And then we've got a question from Bold as a Lion in the chat. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Yeah, welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Buckle in. If you're new to this program, all the hours fly by, but this one tends to fly by a little bit faster than the others, so put your seatbelt on. If you're enjoying the program, let us know in the chat. Please get involved. Ask some questions. We're going to take a few questions already. I've got a couple of them in here. We're going to go to one from Bold as a Lion, who asks a question about flock cameras. We'll go to that in just a moment. That should be a lively conversation. We'll probably carry that through the hour. So thanks for the question, Bold. We do appreciate it. Thanks for the question. Justin Moon, let me go back to you. Have you ever had, because you see people from all over the world at your range. I've seen people from all over the world at your range. Have you ever had anybody approach you or any of your staff and say, I'm from Japan, or I'm from Korea, or I'm from wherever, and I just shot a Tommy gun on your range and that sucked and I never want to come back again? Have you ever heard anyone say that?
Oh, I think everybody who comes from overseas to try to shoot in the U.S. absolutely loves it, because they have a taste of what freedom is. And, unfortunately for Europe, Great Britain, since they gave up the right to bear arms, they've got 12,000 people in jail for Facebook posts.
Yeah, I know it's crazy, isn't it? And they're trying to do it here in the United States. We covered one of those stories just a couple weeks ago. It's mind-boggling. But the overall answer to that is, I've never taken anyone to the range ever that said to me afterwards, and I'm talking about new shooters, some liberals that were scared, that when they relaxed and calmed down and they realized how fun, no one has ever said to me in all of my years of shooting has ever said to me, that was horrible, that sucked, I was afraid of that, I never wanted to do it again. The only thing I've heard from them is, do we have any more ammunition? I'll buy if we don't. Ryan's laughing on camera. That's a true statement, isn't it, Ryan? And you have a range on your property.
I do. And my
That's
favorite
because
thing
he has
to
a
do is-
ranch, by the way, a real ranch.
I have a ranch and I have a range. Yes. Look, is one of the things I love to do is bring young shooters out. I work with scouts, with the youth group at church, and one of the things they love to do is come out to the range here and shoot. And I feel like it's my civic duty to pass along that tradition. And I think we should all take our friends to the range, especially those that are skeptical about the Second Amendment. That to me is the number one way we convert people to our side. We can make all the constitutional arguments we want all day long. You put a firearm in their hand, give them a box of ammo, give them 5 minutes of training, show them how to pull the trigger, and they're the next gun owner.
Yeah, that's a great point, and that is good advice. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have an opportunity to take someone to the range who has never shot before, please do so. You'll find it to be quite the experience. Let's go to a question from Bold as a Lion 6436 in the chat. Bold, thanks for the question. He says, are we allowed to talk about flock surveillance cameras and how do we get rid of them? Oh, this is interesting. Brad, you're former law enforcement. For the benefit of those of you who might not know what a flock camera is, you've heard a lot about this. A lot of people think it's an acronym for something. It's not. It's for Flock Safety Company that makes the cameras, and it's an automated license plate reader, or otherwise known by an acronym as ALPR. You see them mounted on poles, traffic lights. These are solar-powered cameras that use AI to capture vehicle details. And that includes, ladies and gentlemen, license plate, make, model, color, unique features like bumper stickers, what you have on the back of your car. It all goes into a database, color, unique features, and it's all saved to a searchable database that is shared to law enforcement. Brad, what could possibly go wrong here? Let me just start with this. There have been, he's laughing already. This could be the full hour, ladies and gentlemen. I have no idea how long we're going to go with this. But there have been 4 deputies in my area that have been fired for misusing flock cameras, and it's all been for personal reasons. To track somebody, to follow up with a personal vendetta, a stalking incident. And these are deputies. And those are the 4 that got caught, Brad. Your former law enforcement, tell me about it, and then I'm going to tell you why they're never going to go away, and people will be shocked by my response. Go ahead.
Yeah, so funny enough, actually, a buddy of mine still works for the department I used to work at. They have flock cameras down there in that city now, and I did ask him. I said, "Hey, whatever happened to some of our local dirt bags we used to chase around the hood, over and over again?" And he just kind of laughed. Said, "Yeah, they're all in jail." I said, well, what happened? He said, yeah, well, we got these flock cameras. They got the shot spotter system down there, the microphones that detect gunshots. And so anytime something happens, like they can pinpoint where it happened. They got cameras on it. They can see who did it. And they go get warrants. Just go pick them up and put them away. And so, on that level, it sounds like a great idea. However, what you touched on, Mark, is the dark side of it, which is these things suck up so much data on everybody. You pass one of these cameras on your way to the store to get a gallon of milk.
Yep.
Guess what? It's been recorded. It's been saved. And what can be done is they can put together essentially a mosaic, right? So they have you here at this time. They have you there at this time. They have you somewhere else at this time. And they can pull all that together and put together a picture of what you've done that entire day. And the argument like, well, you don't have any privacy when you're in public. Mm-hmm. I don't think that took into account the idea that there was going to be the capability by the government to watch you from the second you leave your house until the second you go back into your house, to save it in a searchable database where anybody with access to it can essentially download your entire life. And when you have deputies, you have agents of the state that are obviously willing to misuse it for personal, unfortunately, there are people out there that, they just cannot resist the urge to do the wrong thing. And when they have too much access and too much ability to do it and think they won't get caught, they'll do it. And so this is what we get. We talk about this all the time, though, Mark, with other things that the government does, which is if you give the government any ability to limit or infringe upon your rights, they will take that inch and run with it, and you will never, ever get it back.
No, you are right. Justin, do they concern you?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the old adage holds: power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And this is a lot of power to hand over to the state. I don't think anything good will come to the people for doing this.
Ryan?
Couldn't agree more. And the problem I have with these, and the argument for them is the one Brad made, right? Which is the one I hear law enforcement making all the time, which is, hey, we're just looking for the license plates of the bad guys. And while that may be true at a certain level, maybe that's why they were originally purchased, what ends up happening is the abuses start. And the reason the abuses start is because law enforcement has access to the data that these cameras collect without seeking a warrant. So that process of getting a warrant and then going and, probable cause, getting a warrant, and then going and searching or surveilling somebody, it gets reversed. It's very much like a red flag law where you're presumed guilty until you prove yourself innocent. And this is the same thing that goes on here. Unfortunately, because there is no warrant, there is no check on law enforcement, they're abusing these cameras for all the reasons you mentioned, Mark. And the next generation of these quote unquote cameras are going to do more than just track your license plate. They're now able to listen to your AirPods that are in
Ryan,
your car.
Hold on to that.
Yep.
Hold on to that because we're getting ready to take a break. When we come back, we'll let Ryan expand on that. Then I'm going to tell you why they're never going to go away. And Brad alluded to it. We'll be back right after this. AmericanRadio.com. Ryan Petty, welcome back in. I want to go back to you. Finish your thought, and then I'm going to tell you why these things aren't going anywhere. Go for it.
Yeah, well, so it was established a while back that with just 4 data points, Mark, if I'm able to get the GPS pings off of your phone, just 4 data points, I can basically tell who it is. You can anonymize that data, but you give me those 4 data points, I can tell you who they are. You go back to the 2020 election, the fraud that happened there. How did they track those folks, those mules that were taking ballots? They saw their cell phone pings. They knew where they knew who they were, and they knew they knew that they were dropping those off at those ballot boxes. But what's coming is beyond. It will make Flock look like a 22, right? Basically, the next generation are going to identify you by the unique mix of devices you have. So if you've got AirPods or you've got a Samsung phone or a pair of headphones or an Apple Watch, those devices traveling with your car will be associated with your license plate. They can create a profile of you. Again, this is all data that government's going to have. As gun owners, we should be sensitive to this, right? We have fought for years to keep the federal government from creating a database of gun owners, and they're creating a database of your license plate, the characteristics of your car, the electronics you travel around with, and unless you've got your devices in a silent bag, and even that isn't safe because your car is emitting all kinds of signals at this point. Any new car is emitting those. They're creating a database that's searchable by law enforcement without a warrant. We should be up in arms about this. We should have put our foot down at the time the Patriot Act was passed. We should have gotten rid of that. And we've got to put our foot down now. I hope what you're about to tell me isn't going to ruin my day because we've got to fight these. We've got to fight these, and there are some examples of jurisdictions pulling these cameras out, but it takes a lot of public fury to get them removed.
What Ryan just alluded to, and Justin, I want to get you some time on this as well. What Ryan just alluded to is the next generation of these cameras. So why should that concern you as a gun owner, guys? If for example, I lived in Florida long before I lived in Georgia. When a cop pulls you over, and I was pulled over about 3 times in Florida by Highway Patrol and one local cop over the years, They already know you have a firearm because your concealed carry permit, this was before constitutional carry, is already tied to your driver's license. They know you have a CCW. A flock camera is going to be able to tell them that you have a gun just by virtue of the information it took by the license plate itself. Now, it's already illegal for cops to do what the cops in my jurisdiction, in my sheriff's department did. That's a violation of the law. One of them was tracking his ex. Okay, this is dangerous technology for everything that Ryan just said. Here's the problem, Brad. You alluded to it. Perfect segue to you. You have zero, and the Supreme Court has found this on multiple occasions, multiple cases, at least 3 that I'm aware of, zero expectation of privacy when you're in public. I can walk through a public parking lot and film your VIN number and your license plate, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it if you are in public, period. Now, Ryan, what you're talking about is the next generation that goes beyond that. That's where we might be able to get into this. But, guys, I hate to tell you this. Brad, I'll take it right back to you, get your comments. You have zero expectation of privacy in public, and the Supreme Court has found that multiple times. If it's visible to the eye, it can be photographed or recorded, Brad. It's that simple. It is illegal to use it for nefarious intent, but we all know, okay, there's a bad cop, bad accountant, bad lawyer, bad some profession, bad dentist in jail because they violate the law and they don't pay attention to it. They don't pay attention to the don't use this information for nefarious purposes sign, Brad. Okay? It's just the way it is right now. Brad, we got you?
He's there. He's probably muted.
You have me.
There we go.
So the expectation of privacy in public, I have to kind of question of like, well, right. I mean, you don't have expectation of privacy at that moment, but like, is it reasonable to believe that what you do is not going to be recorded in a database and maintained for months on end, be searchable by anybody with a badge or a quote unquote need to know reason for eternity?
Well, look, you're on a security camera when you walk in a post office. That doesn't disappear.
Right.
Now, the flock information supposedly disappears after 30 days, just like a home recording or a Ring cam or something like that. And yeah, bold as a lion, you opened up a can of worms, brother. You did, but it's a great conversation. Go ahead, Brad. Sorry.
Yeah, well, but you're right. But that kind of gets into the wider conversation of our privacy has kind of been decimated years ago. In is anything you do actually private, whether it be on the internet, going out in public or anything else? I would encourage most people just to go ahead and operate from the standpoint of anything that you do that is connected to the outside world is going to be looked at.
It's recorded.
Right. Somebody's going to have eyes on it.
You can't go a mile from your house without being on a recording. You can't do it nowadays.
Especially nowadays. And so, operate with that in mind. So whatever you do, just understand that it's going to be recorded somewhere. But, it just kind of going back to the whole thing is, the government is not our friends. And, when it comes to owning firearms, they're always going to view us with a suspicious eye. And, the next generation of technology, we really want to get creepy because it's funny because I was just in a conversation last night about this. If you think about it, like they already have technology right now, they can hook you up to a machine and essentially create images of what you're thinking about, right? Just by your brain waves, by your heart rate, by your breathing rate, the tension of your flesh, your sweat, all kinds of things.
Oh, voice stress is an example of that when they do a voice stress test on you. Sure.
Right. Mark, it's not a stretch to believe that we're not too far away from them being able to gather that information without actually even touching you. Okay? So now, when you go to the airport, they can just kind of run you through the scan, like, hey, this guy was thinking about explosives yesterday. Maybe he's a problem, right? So the next iteration of this isn't going to just be more sophisticated, more data about like your car or whatever. It's going to be data about you and what's going on inside your head. And now we're going to talk about thought crime. We're going to talk about, is this person a danger to the state without you even doing anything? And then it's like, is that going to trigger
Funny.
action from the government? Are guys with guns going to show up at your house now because they caught you? You walk through a center, they caught you.
100% legit, but I have to stop you there. When we come back, you finish that thought, and then we're going to go over. Ryan's shaking his finger like crazy, and I know Justin wants to jump in as well. We'll be right back with the crew. One more segment, guys. Yeah, guys, final segment. I told you, buckle in. Goes quick. I wasn't lying to you, was I? I've been doing this a long time, and when it flies during our breaks, I know it's flying on your end as well. That's just the way the universe works. NationalRifleAssociation.org, all of our great partners, BudsGunShop.com, Daniel Defense. Make sure to check them out. And we're going to be doing an event at, we're going to be up at the Rod of Iron Festival with Justin in October. And about 6 or 7 days later, I'll be down in Savannah doing an event down at Daniel Defense. Looking forward to that. Great people down there. Make sure to visit all of our great partners. And if this conversation doesn't get you off your duff to go pick up some of those SLNT silent bags, I don't know what will, because they flat out work, ladies and gentlemen, until the technology gets to the point that Ryan and Brad are talking about. Then I don't know that we're ever safe. Texas Huntsman puts in the chat, Skynet has arrived. TX Huntsman, I met you at the NRA in April. Skynet's been here for a long time, brother, and I do appreciate all the comments in the chat. We do appreciate it, but it is a can of worms. Justin, let me go to you on this. I believe I'm right on this, that until those cameras go the direction that Ryan and Brad are talking about, the Supreme Court, if they were to rule on a case today, they would rule that you have no expectation of privacy. But they are going to get, the technology is going to get more, it's just going to get more and more advanced. What's your concern then?
Well, I think that the public is not aware that their privacy in their home doesn't exist either.
Oh, that's a
Anything
great point.
with smart TVs,
Alexa,
smart appliances,
hey Google on your TV.
Alexa,
right?
Smart refrigerators, they're all listening and they're spying to you. Anything which gives out a Wi-Fi signal creates basically a triangulated radar signature of where you are in your house, and all of those radio frequency emissions can be tracked with technology outside your home to basically give a picture of what you're doing in your house. And so it's we really need to roll back some of these technologies which intrude on our privacy in our home.
The problem is that cat's out of the bag already, Justin. And, you bring up a couple great points. I've got a Google enhanced, I don't know what TV brand it is, I forget. But it's a big 65-inch monster, 75-inch monster. But that thing's got that Hey Google on it. You say Hey Google and the TV stops doing what it's doing and listens to you. And there's a coolness factor to that. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's always listening. There's also a comment in the chat about Alexa. Okay? Alexa's the same way. Guys, if you're sitting there thumbing through your phone, scrolling, Justin, it's got you while you're laying on your couch or while you're laying in bed at night. It's got you. I don't know that we can ever put that smoke back in the grill lid. Great points, Justin. Ryan, you've been wagging your fingers and shaking your head. Take it away. I'm not even going to ask you a question. I know you have a lot to say. Go for it.
I've got a bee in my bonnet or something under my saddle. I can't remember which it is, but something like that. But yeah, this is making
burr in his saddle.
Because what's happened burr, there you go. Without Americans understanding this, I just posted into the Telegram chat a picture of flock cameras across the country. There's a website called dflock.org. You can go in there. 900,000 of these cameras have been deployed across the United States. Americans have no idea that they're being tracked at every instance. And Mark, you brought up something about TVs. Listeners, every smart TV you just bought, if you accepted the terms when you turned that TV on, one of the things you accepted was for Samsung or LG or Vizio or whoever you bought the TV from to take periodic screenshots of what you're watching and sell that information to advertisers, just so you know. And it doesn't matter if you're watching it on a Roku or Apple TV or whatever device. It's taking pictures of what's on your screen and it's selling that information to advertisers. You need to understand how bad this has gotten. And Justin's right. What's happened is, when I was back when I was at ADT, this was back in, let's say, 2015, 2016, almost 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we were talking to startups that were going to use Wi-Fi inside your home to be able to determine who was in the room, how many people were in the room, and that information is quite easy for law enforcement to get access to from outside your home. So if you think you're safe inside your home, I got news for you, folks.
No.
I got news for you.
No, I have to be honest with you. I have been watching television before and said something that was nowhere remotely similar to Hey Google. And Hey Google popped up with a little shiny flashing star on the screen and began typing information based on what I said, Brad. This is frightening technology. While there is a coolness factor to some of it, we don't think about what it's being used for, as Ryan just pointed out, Brad. Okay, and when you do accept those terms, ladies and gentlemen, you're telling them, and here's what they operate, Brad, under this guise that to help us deliver a better, more personal experience to you. That means we're watching every flippin' thing you do, and they got you, brother. They got you.
Yeah, I mean, like you just touched on it. I mean, we've all had the experience of talking about something, and then you pick up your phone and start thumbing through it, and now your social media, like, serving you ads, oddly related to what you were just talking about.
Sometimes just thinking about. That's happened to me. I've thought about it, and it's popped up on my phone. I don't know how that works. Maybe it's just coincidence, but I believe in UFOs, dude, so there you go. Whatever. A whole other show.
It's very weird, but it is a double-edged thing, right? So, we can all look at the way technology has improved our lives, the quality of our lives, the fact that you can pick up a device or take a device out of your pocket, and the entire breadth and depth of human knowledge is available at your fingertips.
Yep. Right
there in your pocket. What an amazing thing, right? But obviously, and this is also as old as human nature, we misuse those things. If you go out throughout history, every time human beings have been given a gift to improve our lives, somebody finds a way to misuse it, and they weaponize it, and it becomes a beast that you can only hope to contain, but you can't control. And the internet, another good example of, if you think about like the potential and the things that we can use the internet for, and what the internet has done for the quality of life, and then also realize that 90% of the internet is being used for memes and pornography, right? So it's not this great tool is just being used for in a lot of ways to in ways that are actually detrimental to people,
right?
And so when it comes to all this surveillance technology and it's frustrating when you have the people out there that want to say, well, they wag their finger, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have anything to worry about. And, on the surface, you're right. Okay. I mean, I don't go out. I'm not really worried about, the day-to-day of like a flock camera picking me up doing something. And the next thing I know, I've got, feds kicking at my door or something. But at the end of the day, is once they run out of criminals to put it in jail, they'll start making criminals out of the normal people who aren't doing anything wrong. They're going to say, hey, look, you know what?
60.
Here's Mark. What's he been up to? Because we don't have anybody to put in jail, and we got to justify this budget that we have and the fact that we have these flock cameras we're paying $1 million a year for, so we got to start generating some numbers. So let's see what Mark's up to. Oh, dang, Mark just went 5 miles an hour to the speed limit. Let's go ahead and mail him a speeding ticket, and by the way, it looks like his tags are out of date.
Yep.
And we know he has guns, so he might be kind of dangerous, so let's go ahead and see if we can get a warrant. So that's what it'll become.
It's already there, Brad. It's already there, buddy. It's already there, brother.
You're probably
30.
I have to cut you off, guys. We could go on and on and on this. This is a fascinating conversation. Bold as a lion, thank you for bringing that up. It made for a really compelling conversation, guys, and I hope it opened your eyes. Justin Moon, real quick, yes or no? Can we put the grill smoke back under the lid? Yes or no? Do we have Justin? No? Real quick. Yes or no? I got to get yes or no because I got to fly.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a no.
Hey, it's a no. It definitely is a no.
You just
gosh darn it.
Fucking around.
That's okay. That's all right. That was actually kind of fun. All right, guys. We went right up on the break on that one. Sorry about that. But I had to try to get an answer from him. Unfortunately, there's a little delay on the phones. So, guys, thanks for participating. That was fantastic. I do appreciate it. Bold as a lion. Yeah, you opened a can of worms, but a great comment and a great question. We're going to be doing more of that in the roundtable for you guys. So hope you guys enjoyed the program as much as we enjoy bringing it to you. It's always a lot of fun. We could have easily gone a couple more hours, no question about it. Ryan, you're still on with us. You there?
I'm here.
How much fun could we have had with that? All right, Ryan, if you would, stay on camera. I'll be with you momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being here. I do appreciate it much. Visit all of our great partners. I'll see you on the radio tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. I'll see you on the radio manana.